Hello, I'm George Coleman, publisher of the Lebanon Democrat and the Mount Juliet News. Today, we will continue our series of videos that we hope will get you to know a little bit better the candidates running in the August 2nd Wilson County general election state primaries. Early voting will start July 13th and continue through July 28th. We're going to continue our series for the state with the State House District 57 in the Republican primary. Two candidates qualified to run for office. They are current Representative Susan Lynn and challenger Aaron Shane. In this video forum, we'll offer each candidate 2 minutes for an opening and closing statement. We'll ask them some questions in between. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer each question. Each candidate will alternate as to who goes first. First, let me tell you a little bit about the duties of the state representative. Representatives are elected to a 2-year term, and all representatives are up for election at the same time. Along with the Tennessee State Senate, it forms the legislative branch of the Tennessee state government and works alongside the governor of Tennessee to create laws and establish a state budget. Legislative authority and responsibilities of the Tennessee House of Representatives include passing bills on public policy matter, setting levels of state spending, raising and lowering taxes, and voting to uphold or override gubernatorial vetoes. So, here we go. In alphabetical order, Mrs. Lynn, please start us off with your opening statement.
Thank you. My name is Susan Lynn, and I currently represent you in the 57th District. I'm married. I have 2 adult children. I have 6 beautiful grandchildren. I am a financial analyst. I have a degree in economics. And I am endorsed. I'm endorsed by Tennessee Right to Life, the NFIB, the Realtors, Tennessee Realtors, very proud of that, the firefighters, the Tennessee State employees, and the Animal Advocates of Tennessee. I'm very proud of my endorsements. I think they reflect the work that I've done in the Tennessee General Assembly. I'm a conservative Republican. I'm a Christian. I attend First Baptist Church in Mount Juliet. I belong to the Noon Rotary Club in Mount Juliet. Hi, everybody. Hope you're watching. And I am Vice President of the Mount Juliet Republican Women. In the Tennessee General Assembly, I'm Chairman of the Consumer and Human Resources Committee. And I also serve on the Finance, Ways and Means Committee and on the Ethics Committee. I'm very proud of the work I do. I really think of myself as customer service for the state because constituents call me almost every day, and I am able to get them help. I connect them to that help, and they get the help that they need, and that's always very satisfying. Sometimes we have to file a bill, and I'm very proud that when I do file a bill, those bills often pass very, very quickly, and we can actually affect people's lives very quickly in the Tennessee General Assembly versus Washington, where, golly, if you wanted a bill, it'd take you 5 years to pass that bill. In the Tennessee General Assembly, we can, as long as it's good policy, pass that bill very quickly. So I'm very proud of the work I do. I thank the voters for the honor of representing them, and I hope to continue, and I ask them for their vote.
Thank you. Mr. Shane, your opening statement.
My name is Aaron Shane. I'm running for state rep here in the 57th District. I am a husband, father, small business owner, conservative and Republican. I always say Republican last because it does not mean what it used to, especially here in Tennessee. We've had a Republican supermajority for quite some time, and normally you would think that would get you smaller government, lower taxes, and more freedoms, and we've gotten the opposite on all 3 of those. My opponent voted for the largest tax increase in Tennessee history while our state had a $2 billion surplus. That was the gas diesel registration tax, also known as the Improve Act. Completely unnecessary, should have never happened. Also killed the bathroom bill that would have kept adult male predators out of my 6-year-old daughter's bathroom. We're going to hear, that we were worried about a potential lawsuit from the Obama administration, but in my opinion, anybody that puts any excuse in the world, as a higher priority than the safety of children should not be in elected office. I'm doing this for the right reasons. It's not about money or notoriety. This is not a well-paying position to begin with. It's just I really love where I live, and I want to do what's right for the people and bring true representation back to our district. Thank you.
Thank you. First question, what qualifications do you believe are most important to be representative, and how does your experience make you the best person for the job, Mr. Shane?
Well, I believe that a representative should be doing this for the right reasons. I believe it should be because they want to serve the people. Again, we're both applying for a job. She's applying to keep her job. I'm applying for that job. Somebody that actually represents the people, that's going to do what's right. She's taken close to $80,000 from corporations, lobbyists, and special interest groups in the last 2 election cycles. So, does that tell you she's working for them, the lobbyists, or for us, the people? So doing it for the right reasons is a big one. Secondly, my success in the private sector. I started a company from the ground up, and we've won Best of Mount Juliet 6 years in a row now. I've made payroll, I've balanced budgets, I've put food on families' tables. I think bringing that into this particular position would be very helpful. I mean, we see what's going on with Trump in Washington now. He's brought an outsider's perspective. He's brought a business mindset, and there's a lot of things getting done that I'm pretty excited about right now. So I think private sector experience and having succeeded in the private sector is going to be very helpful.
Thank you. Mrs. Lynn, same question.
Hi, thank you. I do have private sector experience. I also think it's very important to be responsive to the constituents, no matter who they are, whether they're Republican or Democrat. I help them. It doesn't matter if someone ever voted for me. It doesn't matter if they vote at all. I simply help them. It matters that you be responsive. Absolutely have to be responsive to your constituency. You have to be informed. You have to be willing to research the subjects and listen to all sides, which is what I do. And ultimately, I have to make a decision, but I listen to all sides. Many times over the weekend, I call people and ask for information. I would like to say, in regard to contributions that I have received, most of those contributions are from associations, and it doesn't mean that I support them. What it means is that they support me. Take the Tennessee Realtors, for example. They know that I support a safe community that is economically sound and has good education opportunities. Those are the things that I support in the General Assembly, and I work towards those things. Making a great economy in Tennessee, having great education in Tennessee, and providing infrastructure that our growing area needs. I work towards those things in the Tennessee General Assembly. In regard to the restroom bill, it is the most ridiculous argument I've ever heard in my life that someone would say that I wanted male predators in the bathroom. My constituents know me. They know that I'm a conservative Christian. The ACLU was going to sue us, and instead of being sued, what we did was we joined with Texas in a lawsuit, and we defeated the Obama restroom directive in court. Had we been being sued at the time, that victory never would have applied to Tennessee. And had we lost in the liberal Tennessee courts, right now there would be adult male predators in children's bathrooms, and there's not, because we won.
Thank you. Next question. What are the most important issues in your race, and how do you plan to address them, Mrs. Lynn?
I think definitely our growing area, that's a huge issue in our race. And what do we need in a growing area? Well, we need infrastructure, we need great education, and we need good criminal justice policies. And those are the things that I work towards in the General Assembly. I also think that the opioid crisis, we passed legislation this year to affect the opioid crisis, both at where doctors are prescribing, getting help for the addicted, and also in the criminal justice system. So that legislation is still unfolding, and we'll probably have to come back and tweak that more and provide better guidance for that, and we definitely will do that. Obviously, the mental health issue, we don't have a gun problem in the United States. Obviously, we have a mental health problem because the mass shooters have had mental health issues. I think we've all woken up to the fact that we have to deal differently with that. Now, how do we do that? Do I have the answer? Do I have a secret bill? No, I don't. We need to bring the right people together and work together and make a plan that will work in Tennessee. We will look at best practices from other states and come up with that. I think all of the governor candidates are willing to work towards that, and I'm willing to work with the governor candidates, who's ever elected, to make that happen. And then, of course, criminal justice reform for juveniles. That's another area that we began to work on this year, and we will continue working on criminal justice reform for juveniles. We want to see juveniles get their education, stay out of the court system, and go on to lead a prosperous, productive life where they can have a family and just really have the American dream. and we need to work harder and work smarter about making that happen for them.
Thank you. Mr. Shane?
Well, I actually agree with her on the mental health thing. But for me, this Tennessee Ready is an absolute disaster. And I believe she voted for, I think it was called Race to the Top at one point, which laid the groundwork for the standardized testing mess. And it's been failure after failure. It's cost our state over $100 million. I would do away with standardized testing altogether. Historically, the only standardized testing we've had is the ACT and the SAT. We should allow teachers to teach on what's been taught throughout the school year. To tie a teacher's pay to student performance also is just morally and logically wrong. I mean, there's some children don't have a home life. They don't have to raise by an iPad or a TV, and everybody's going to learn at a different rate. And to have a generic national test, some federal nonsense that's going to dock a teacher's pay because this child didn't get to a certain point, I think. So that I would do away with standardized testing. I think it's amazing that nobody's called for the resignation of Candace McQueen. She's been the figurehead of this whole thing, but they keep doubling down with different programs under the same company. The other thing for me is the Improve Act. It was completely unnecessary. We had other plans on the table that wouldn't have hurt Tennessee families. I got letters from suppliers that my costs are going up because their cost is going up, so they pass that on to us. It's a basic economics. It's a ripple effect. We're paying more for everything. The Hawk plan was another one available. It would take 0.25% out of already taxed automotive products and would have accomplished all the same things. So it should have never happened. I will fight to repeal that, and those are two of the major issues that I'm concerned with right now.
Okay, thank you. Next question. Whoever assumes the role of District 57 representative for the next 2 years will be faced with exponentially growing population in our region. How do you propose we best handle that growth, Mr. Shane?
Well, I think one of the problems I'm seeing, and of course I'm talking to people, and we're pushing through these meetings to approve condos, houses, apartments before we have the infrastructure. I feel like we're putting the cart before the horse. You can't stop the growth. We have the land clearly, but we don't have the roads and the infrastructure. I think they just approved another 400, 500, 600 apartments in Mount Juliet, and we're already backed up with traffic. So dealing with roads before we start approving all these developments, I think is huge, and that's basically what I would do.
Okay, Susan Lynn?
Well, last year we did pass the Improve Act, which, by the way, was the largest tax cut in the history of the state of Tennessee. What we did was we used the budget surplus, $500 million of it, to lower taxes in the general fund in order to get that money over to the highway fund, raise taxes $250 million over there, lower them $500 million over here. That's a $250 million net tax reduction. Those tax cuts help Tennesseans. They help people in my community. We have the food tax cut. The hall income tax is going away. We cut property taxes for low-income seniors and disabled veterans, and also we had a factory tax cut, which means that we will attract more factory jobs to Tennessee. We've got a lot of distribution centers, but those factory jobs are the jobs that pay, and that's what we want. Now, the Improve Act is building our infrastructure. Right now we have $108 million worth of projects going on in Wilson County. 109, which was funded by the Improve Act, is funded. Highway 141, I-40 are all going on right now, and the other projects are in engineering right now. Another thing we've done is education. We have dropped from 47th down to 32 in education because of the rigorous standards that we have. Our teachers are responding. They are doing a great job. Our students are doing a great job. Things have worked very well. Not only that, we have put $1.3 billion more into the BEP, K through 12 education, not for testing, but for teachers' salaries, insurance, and other things that schools need. That $1.3 billion has been well spent, and we're seeing the return on investment. Our ACT scores have never been higher. Our graduation rates have never been higher. It's actually attracting employers to Tennessee because they see that we have an educated workforce.
Thank you. State testing in schools was a significant issue for the last couple of years in Tennessee. If you could draft a bill to fix it, what would it say, Mrs. Lynn?
Thank you. A lot of people say that the TN Ready is a testing failure. It was the it was the application of the test, the mode of testing that failed. The computer systems got overloaded, and the tests couldn't be submitted. Look, in the classroom, we have gone from paper and books to computers, and it keeps moving that way. That's what happened with the testing. The Department of Education tried to move to computers, and the submission of those tests on computers were a problem. However, the tests save as the students take the test, and so no student is not going to be able to submit their work. They will be given full credit for their work. Now, why do we have standardized testing? Well, the state of Tennessee provides 52% of the money to Wilson County schools. The federal government provides 7% of the money to Wilson County schools. We would be very foolish if we did not ask for accountability. Are we meeting the standards? Now, what are standards? I think people really misunderstand standards. Standards that's the minimum standard of what, say, a fourth grader will learn this year. I hope every parent will look at the standards for their child they're going to school this year and see, what is your child going to learn this year? So your child is taught all year, and at the end of the year they're tested. Did they learn what the goals were to teach that child this year? A great teacher is going to teach well above the standards. A good teacher is going to teach the standards really well. And a poor teacher or poor school is not going to teach the standards well. And we don't have any of those schools in Wilson County. They're in some other counties. And you know what? We're getting those schools help too. We are helping those schools because we want every child in the state of Tennessee to succeed. So what would I do? I would say that if schools have an issue with the testing, the students can take it on paper and pencil. Paper and pencil. Let them do that.
Very good. Mr. Shane.
Well, again, like I said before, I would do away with standardized testing completely. I think when you tie a teacher's pay to student performance, you're putting that teacher in a very awkward position. I know a lot of our teachers, most teachers I hope, are getting into teaching because they love children, they love to teach them, and they want to make a difference. At the end of the day, though, you can't buy your groceries with a hug. And to think that their pay is going to be docked based on a student's performance, I just don't think is right. That this graduation rate, do we know that that's not directly linked to the fact that they're putting these teachers in an awkward position, that their pay might be docked and they have groceries and they have bills to pay, and now you're putting them in a situation where they have to teach to this particular test. Again, I would completely do away with it. I would, the only standardized testing that historically we've had is ACT and SAT. Which I'm totally okay with, but I think we need to be tested on what's been taught throughout that classroom throughout the year.
Okay, next question. In sticking with education as it pertains to safety, with the recent and ongoing violent shootings that have happened across the nation, is the state doing enough to keep our students safe, or should more be done? And if so, what, Mr. Shane?
I'm very passionate about this particular issue. I'm thankful that my son is going into second grade, my daughter into kindergarten at Gladeville Elementary. We have a 10-foot steel door. We have a camera that you have to be buzzed in. We have an amazing SRO officer in Rusty. And I'm thankful. We had a hard lockdown, whatever that means, not too long ago, and I felt much better knowing that he was there. Now, I've been told that there's 170 schools in Tennessee that do not have SRO officers. I think that's wrong. I was actually in that committee meeting when they were going to allow teachers to protect the students. Now, keep in mind, this was not forcing teachers to carry a gun. This was the ones that were comfortable enough to do it, that felt like they should, that would have to go through the same testing as we as carry permit holders have to do. Now, the safest demographic in society is a carry permit holder. There's no safer demographic. They would have had to go through that exact same training, and then there'd be additional training that's specifically related to schools in these particular situations. In my opinion, we should have SRO officers, and our children's safety should be a top priority. If we don't have an SRO officer, I would feel better with my children having a teacher that could defend them rather than them be sitting ducks. And I mean, we need to make this a top priority.
Thank you. Mrs. Lynn.
Thank you. As you know, I believe in local control, and in state government, we passed a bill this year that provided school safety grants, or more money for school safety grants. We already provide school safety grants, but we raised the amount of money by 500%. And that means that our local schools will be able to apply for those school safety grants and use that to increase school safety. Now, in Wilson County Schools, we are very fortunate. We have an SRO officer in every single school. We have 2 in our high schools. None of our students are in portables. They are all in a classroom in a secure location. Our schools follow a protocol. You can't even get into the school without going to the main office and showing your driver's license. So our schools follow a protocol. But what the legislation does is it has consultants. They're going out to every single school in our state. They're reviewing not only the safety protocol, but the actual facilities. And then they will give a report to each one of the schools, not to penalize them, but to show them, here are best practices. Here's where you're falling short. And by the way, we have increased the amount of grant money available to you to apply for by 500%. Please apply for this grant money so that you can increase the safety of your school. And so Wilson County Schools, I'm sure there's things that they want to do for improvement, and they will be able to apply for that grant money, and I'm very proud of that. I do want to say that there is not one teacher who is docked pay. No teacher is docked pay because maybe students didn't perform well on standardized testing. I don't know where he got that from, and that is completely untrue.
Teachers.
They are not docked pay. What happens with the standardized testing is a tiny percentage goes into the teacher's evaluation, and the teacher talks about that with their principal, and that is it. They are not docked pay due to standardized testing.
Thank you. With the passage of the Improve Act, it appears that Republicans were split on the bill, as apparently you two are as well here. Some supported as much needed infrastructure repairs. Some called it a huge tax increase posted for the reason. You've touched on this a little bit so far. If you can just go a little bit deeper into the Improve Act and where you stand on it, what's working, what's not, and what you would propose we do moving forward. We'll start with Mrs. Lynn.
Okay. Thank you very much. We have tremendous roads needs in Wilson County. We have had people dying on Highway 109, on Highway 141, and it has been a terrible tragedy. But the Improve Act is supplying those funds to fix these roads. Hopefully our next governor will want to expand 840, and we will get that done. The Improve Act was the largest tax cut in the history of Tennessee. The Americans for Tax Reform, which is a very conservative group, says that tax offsets, and that's what the Improve Act did. It's a tax offset. It lowers taxes here and raises them here by half as much. It's a tax offset. The Americans for Tax Reform say that tax offsets are absolutely the way to do it. I didn't vote for the Improve Act because I wanted to. I held 11 town hall meetings and I presented both plans. And when presented with those plans, the people at those meetings saw that the Improve Act was more advantageous because it provided tax cuts to Tennesseans and leveraged the out-of-state tourists, travelers, and truckers that pass through our states. They're paying a little bit more and we get the tax breaks. We made sure that the food tax absolutely is a greater tax cut than the increase in the gas tax. Also, my legislative survey, 75% of respondents said that they approved of the Improve Act. This year, there were actually legislators who regretted that they didn't vote for the Improve Act. They said, yes, it was a tax cut, and I should have voted for it. It was a good plan. It was a good Republican plan because we didn't raise taxes, and we were smart about it, and so that is a good thing. I think the Improve Act is really going to help us in our area. I know that it is. The legislators who voted for it first off really got those first projects. So we got 109, we got 141, we got I-40, and many other projects are in engineering right now.
Thank you. Mr. Shane.
Oh, where to start? 109 expansion was in the 2016 road budget from the Department of Transportation. I have that. I've showed it to many people. It was $18.5 million. I went around the Capitol with an actual conservative group, not one in name only. I mean, we can play smoke and mirrors all day. They gave out custom medals to reward the 43 legislators that did not vote for this giant tax increase. There were Democrats that knew it was going to hurt their constituents. There were Democrats that did not vote for this thing. This did not need to happen. I'm getting letters from suppliers in the construction industry. So not only are we paying more for, and of course this is not factored into the smoke and mirrors, not only are we paying more for shirts, shoes, clothing, groceries, everything, because the cost of transporting goods goes up, but we're paying more at the pump as well. I'm getting letters from my suppliers. I had one from a dumpster company not long ago. It said, We really appreciate you as a customer, but due to the rising cost of fuel and registration, we're going to have to pass that cost on to you. We hope you understand, and we hope you remain a customer. It's across the board. This is hurting everybody. I mean, it's almost an insult to everybody's intelligence to call this a tax cut. I don't know who that organization is in name only, but it blows my mind that this can be spun so bad. It's hurting everybody.
Thank you. The state has several projects in the works. What is one project you would push for in the next 2 years that is not currently in the works, Mr. Shane?
As far as a project goes, again, I would get rid of standardized testing. I don't know if that falls into the category of a project, but I mean, it's standardized testing. We have so many furious teachers, parents, and it's hurting children. I would definitely get rid of that. Let the teachers actually teach our children instead of this pressure on this generic federal test. That's related to their pay, which is wrong. I mean, as far as implementing a project, I would get rid of that one. So.
Okay. And Mrs. Lynn?
Thank you. The project that I would most like to see is the widening of Lebanon Road between Bender's Ferry and 109. That was not included in the Improve Act because the other projects in the Improve Act are higher priority due to safety, due to transportation gridlock, and due to economic development. But I would push very hard for that project. Now, as for whether or not 109 was in the Improve Act, half of the current project on 109 was on the TDOT list in 2016. It was never built because the project simply wasn't ready. The other half was included in the Improve Act, and then they circled in and put this back in. So it's all being built right now. I'm very, very proud of that, and unfortunately, I did show this to Mr. Shane before he ever filed to run, but he was disinterested because it just sounds better to say that something else happened. That did not happen at all, and I'm very happy to show the taxpayers that didn't happen. Please just visit my website. Now, what difference does the Improve Act make? There was a study at UT. The Improve Act, per $100 of value on a truck is 0.0004 cents. So that means $100 of value on the truck, it increased the price of that by 0.0004 cents. That is not very much money. The price of gas is related to international politics and international affairs and world demand. The price of gas has gone up because of that. The gas tax is an excise tax, which means it is on the gallon, not on the price of the gas. So if the gallon of gas costs $1, the gas tax was 4 cents. If this gallon of gas now costs $5, the gas tax is still 4 cents. It's not multiplied by the price.
Thank you. Canada recently became the second nation to legalize marijuana. Several states have already legalized marijuana, while others have legalized it for medical use. A bill was proposed in the state legislature last year to legalize marijuana for medical use, but it failed. Where do you stand on the issue, Mrs. Lynn?
You know, this was one of the most mispresented bills in the legislature because this was not to legalize marijuana, and it was not to legalize medical marijuana. It was actually to legalize or broaden the use of the cannabis oil. A few years ago, we voted for cannabis oil for children with seizures. I voted for that bill. Just a few months after voting for that bill, a man came up to me at my Rotary Club and he said, "Can I talk to you privately?" And he told me what a difference it had made for his 5-year-old granddaughter. She was just riddled with seizures. The seizures subsided, and she was actually now developmentally be able to gain. She was having so many seizures, even developmentally, she couldn't gain. The cannabis oil is no to low THC, and when I say low, is that you will never feel high from the cannabis oil. So I do support expanding the use of cannabis oil for people with medical conditions. I think they should be able to use it if they want to use it. It's clearly not going to make you high. It's not going to inebriate anybody, and it has. I believe that there are medical applications for it.
Thank you, Mr. Shane.
I've heard the same stories about whether it be seizures or Parkinson's. But at the end of the day, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist, I'm a business owner. I'm not going to profess to know the answers to that. You hear everything left and right and center. Again, if there was enough studies done and it's going to benefit people, it's going to help people, then sure. But I think we need to. More tests need to be done in that area. I think there's a lack of them for whatever reason that is. I don't know why there's not more tests done. Again, it's not my field of expertise, and I'm not going to profess to be an expert on it. But I think more testing needs to be done, and leave it to the experts.
Thank you. That's all the questions we have for the candidates. We'd like to give them 2 minutes each for a closing statement, and we'll start with Mr. Shane.
All right. Well, I kindly ask for your vote on August 2nd. This is my first time running for office. I'm doing it for the right reasons. It's definitely not for money or notoriety or anything like that. I'm doing it because I really care. I got two young children that are growing up in Wilson County. I love it here. Again, I can't be bought. I can't be bullied. I'm not going to be bought and paid for. I am a term limits guy. I believe in term limits. I mean, my opponent's been in office getting close to 2 decades. I don't believe anybody should be in an office any longer than the president or governor can be in any one particular office. I'm doing this to bring true representation back to the people of our district, and for that reason only. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Lynn.
Thank you. I want to ask the people of the 57th District for the honor of their vote to represent them again in the Tennessee General Assembly. I first ran as that little income tax fighter out there at the Capitol, and since that time, we have banned the state income tax, and that was with your help. We passed a constitutional amendment in the state legislature, and you voted for it, and I thank you very much for voting for that. I also ran on creating small and limited government, and we have done that. We have created the kind of government where businesses want to come to Tennessee, and businesses can expand in Tennessee. I'm very proud of that. I voted to keep taxes low and regulations low. In the last 6 years, I have helped cap taxes $740 million. As you recall, I was in office from 2002 to 2010, and then I left office. I was asked to run again, and I was reelected in 2012, and I thank you for the honor of representing you, and I never squander a moment of my time on anything but working for you. I am pro-life. I am endorsed by Tennessee Right to Life. I am pro-Second Amendment. I have received an A rating from the NRA in every election, and I expect to receive that A rating again any day now. I'm endorsed by organizations that endorse me because they know that I create a good atmosphere. I want to create a good atmosphere where people can succeed in Tennessee, where children can learn, where families are safe, where we have good transportation. You can get home from work to your family in a reasonable amount of time, and you can take your kids out and get them to the ballpark or wherever it is you want to go in a reasonable amount of time and get there safely. Those are the things that I work for. I am very proud of that, and I just really thank you for the honor of representing you, and I hope to be able to represent you again for another term and to work on your behalf. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
We know your time is very precious, and we appreciate the opportunity to do this video so that people of the 57th District can get to know you a little bit better and be ready to vote on Election Day. And most of all, thank you so much for running for office and your willingness to serve the people of the 57th District. It's challenging, it's exciting, and we need great people, and we appreciate the both of you willing to step up and serve.
Thank you.
This concludes our video forum for the August 2nd election. We want to remind everyone that early voting begins July 13th. It runs through the 28th, and the general election is on August 2nd. So please, everyone, get out, vote, make your voice heard. Thank you.